Interface examples for object-oriented PHP. What is an interface? An interface is an outline of what a particular object can do. You will often hear that an interface is a contract. For example, if you have two objects that are each instance of a different class, yet they implement the same interface, then both objects must at a minimum offer the public methods defined in the interface which they implement. Implementing an interface. We implement an interface to enforce behavior. Consider that you are shopping for a new lawnmower. You have narrowed it down to 3 models. One from Kubota, one from John Deere, and one from Crappy Mowers Inc. 2 of these implement the lawnmower interface. That is to say they are guaranteed to be able to cut grass. The third does not implement the lawnmower interface. Let's go lawnmower shopping in our code. As we see here, the 2 models that implement the correct interface are the ones we like. In addition, since both of the classes we like implement our lawnmower interface, they are essentially interchangeable, so it doesn't really make a huge difference if you go with the Kubota or the John Deere. They will both cut your grass just fine. Crappy Mowers Inc. on the other hand does not implement our lawnmower interface, and therefore does not provide the result we want. Program to an interface. We now come upon another idea relating to interfaces, and that is to program to an interface, not an implementation. What it means is that if you have a class that will need to have multiple different ways to do the same thing, you can create an interface. Let's imagine a landscaping company that is going to make use of our mowers. The company is going to need to cut the lawns of its customers. It doesn't matter if they do it with a John Deere, a Kubota, a push mower, or a pair of scissors. As long as they get the job done right, the customer will be happy. First off, let's create a landscaper class that makes use of a John Deere to cut lawns. Things are going great. We have already helped 2 customers today and they are thrilled. Unfortunately, the blade on our John Deere hit a rock, and is now damaged. We don't have any spare parts, so it looks like we'll need to use our backup Kubota to finish the last job of the day. Let's try that. The Henrys are upset since we are unable to finish the job. The problem is, we passed in a concretion, or implementation, into the constructor of the landscaping class. Instead, we should have programmed to an interface. This way, we can swap out the John Deere for a Kubota and it will work just fine. The reason it will work just fine is because both the John Deere class and the Kubota class implement the same interface. This means they can complete the same exact behavior, which in this case is to cut grass. Let's update our code to be more flexible. Check out this one small change we make to our landscaper class. Programming to concretion versus programming to an interface. To further illustrate how this works, let us look at this from the perspective of the landscaper class. In our first example, we program to a concretion. We can see this because we pass in a John Deere, which is a concrete class, a real class with logic that does something. This means that the landscaper class is saying to the world, hey, I need a John Deere to do my job. Don't give me a Kubota, or a Craftsman, or a Honda, or a pushmower, or a pair of scissors. If you give me anything other than a John Deere, I'm going to croak. Of course, this is not the most flexible solution in the world. In the second example, we program to an interface. This means that we pass in an interface to the constructor instead of a concretion. This changes what the landscaper class says to the world. It now says, in order to do my job, you must provide me something that can cut grass. If you provide me something that is able to cut grass, I will do my job. I don't care what you give me, just as long as it can cut grass. Interface examples for object-oriented PHP. Summary interfaces provide many benefits to the programmer. They provide the ability for a developer to reference objects in a more abstract way. Interfaces also provide the ability to swap out implementations much more quickly and easily than if you had programmed to a concretion. Finally, the use of interfaces can be used to enforce contracts in our code. We can specify explicitly what behaviors, or methods, a class should have when it implements our interface. At the end of the day,